Welcome to this episode of Chattin With Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Chris.
What's happening, Bill?
I'm
How are
doing
you
great.
today?
Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, no doubt, man. People loved your stories. They loved how you spoke, so figured I'd bring you back.
Here I am, round two. Let's see what
Yeah.
let's see what this one brings. What do you want me to talk about today? Shoot.
So when you were in the club, you've been
Yeah.
to some funerals, right? Can you explain some of the funerals that you went to? And what were the
Uh,
reasons that they passed away, and walk me through what it's like to go to a Hell's Angel funeral.
my first experience going to a Hell's Angels funeral was a longtime member, Little Joe in Dago. Pretty iconic member, HA leather, whatever. And it was quite an experience because the pack of bikes was just massive. We all rode to the funeral. You know, the hole was dug. Everybody took shovels, threw dirt on it. It was just impressive. There was a lot of people there, and from I think one of the things in the club is every charter had to be represented at a funeral in the United States, and so I was always one that was like up for traveling, and it was my first experience to go to Dago, and it was fun. It was a good time. And I actually went back to another funeral there, Bobby Angel. Little Joe, I'm not really sure how he passed away. Bobby Angel, he got shot by a citizen or something. I don't know what the circumstances were, but it was the same thing. And they were like back to back. The funny part about it is when the first time I went there, like it never rains in Southern California. It rained the whole entire time I was there. in San Diego, and in San Diego, their clubhouse was like on a triangle, and they had the clubhouse, they had a bar, the motorcycle shop. It was in El Cajon, and it was kind of like as a prospect going out there, it felt like I was going to the Wild West because it was right after Laughlin. It was just a tense situation. And I just remember standing out in front, and it's like, wow, there's so many different angles out there. But the reason why I always volunteer to go to the funerals or any of those kind of things, the anniversary parties, is because I like to travel. You know, and one of the things about being a Hell's Angel, you know, if you want to, there's an opportunity to go anywhere. You can go anywhere in the world. Go to charters. You know, there's always something to do. You know, hang out. I love seeing the world, seeing the charters, seeing like how different charters really took on the identity of their cities.
And
You know, like
you rode to these places?
I didn't ride to San Diego because I think it was wintertime or something. And in that particular time, like a lot of the funerals, you just had to be there. So we flew. And, you know, even being a prospect, a funeral was a place where it was kind of laid back because, you know, there wasn't like the tension or nobody was like, didn't seem like they were on edge, like, you know, and it was a pretty easy place for prospects to get to know members. Like, I remember talking to members from around the country just out at the gate, you know, or picking them up at the airport and giving them a ride back. And when you were a prospect and I went to those funerals, you just had to find a way to pitch in or figure out a way to maneuver through the system. And the best way was to give people rides, even if you were from out of town, because you got to meet them, you know, and it kept you away from having to stand out by the gate or that kind of stuff, you know.
What
And
did you?
what's
No,
that?
go ahead.
The one thing about the funerals that was the first thing I saw is that when the angels are the one that threw the dirt on the coffin, you know, everybody grabbed the shovels and filled in. I'm sure the funeral parlor afterwards did their thing, but that was impressive.
Did it have to be full patch members that went to the funeral, or could it just be prospect, or it have to be a full patch member and a prospect?
Pretty sure that maybe a full patch member had to go, but then like when I was a prospect, the members were your responsibility. Is basically what like if when I went travel around, I went to Alaska, Frisco, Laconia, New York a few times, different places all over. And if you had a member with you, that was your responsibility. Your job was to take care of that member in your charter. Is how I understood it.
So basically,
And
you're like his sidekick, like you're helping him out, you're doing whatever you can to aid him, right?
yeah, your job is to make sure that he gets there and comes home safely. That's how I took it. And whatever means that took on, that's how it went. You know, and sometimes you put yourself, you can get yourself into a where your members out there having a great time and you're standing outside for hours on end, but it's your responsibility. The member was that's and as a prospect, I took that seriously. Because I don't want to come back to church and go, hey man, I left the member there.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be good. Have you ever seen that where that happened?
No, no, never. I mean, no, no.
Have you seen a lot of prospects come and go?
Seen a lot of prospects come and go, and like when I got out of prison, like the charters that I were in, like when I left, they were pretty much non-existent, or the people there, I had no idea who they were. And I think I said the last time it was harder to stay a Hell's Angel than to become a Hell's Angel. And they used to say that to us all the time, and that never ever made sense until I became a member. Because once you become a member, the witch hunt or it's not just the cops that are looking for you. In some ways, it feels like some of the people are trying their hardest to throw you out to figure out how to, get yourself to, every little thing is especially for new members, I think is just like it. Everything is tic tac. You got a microscope on you when you first become a member.
Yeah, you scrutinize for a lot of things you do, right?
Yeah, you don't have the freedom to do a lot of things, and I mean maybe that's a rite of passage. And it's hard. Like the hardest thing for me being a prospect was cleaning. The last thing I want to do is clean toilets, right? I didn't sign up to be the janitor. And I get it. Even in the other club that I was in, it was something that I found a way to avoid doing all that stuff. I don't even clean my own house. I have a maid. Why would I want to clean anybody else's house?
Mhm.
And that might sound arrogant to people, but fuck, it's the truth. That's the only thing I can say. If being a big good cleaner and car washer or motorcycle washer or gopher or going to the grocery store is what it meant, it's that I think everybody finds their little way in their place.
Everyone has to do it, right?
Yeah, everybody has to do it. Everybody has to do watch.
Did they ever make you do something that you were like, nah, I ain't doing that?
An old member wanted me to mow his yard. I ain't mowing nobody's yard.
You told them no?
Okay. Yeah, I do. Well, yeah, I just didn't make myself available to mow yards. I just didn't want, I mean, it's not the clubhouse yard. And you know what? I wouldn't ask somebody to mow my yard. I don't need people. I don't want to ask people to do stupid pet tricks, and if they really needed that happen or whatever, but just to do it for something, no, that's not me. And you know what? Maybe that's part of the reason why after a little while, I realized when I got out that it wasn't, the hardest thing about being in that club is following all the rules.
Did you have any idea how many rules there really was?
No. And a lot of the rules are just centered around like I remember everybody had pagers or next telephones back then. I didn't, but a lot of people, and it was like if you got a page 911, you had to rush to the clubhouse. You had to call every member every day and then like like the trick bags. I remember, this is a crazy story. I don't know, but when I went to Laconia for the World USA run, one of the guns that I went to prison with, I was a prospect at the time, and a member in my charter that I was super close with, like we hung out, right? He shows up with this girl to go to the USA World Run, and I was just like, oh my God, this is not the girl for him. The jealous type doesn't need the girl that's flirting with everybody. And he's already wound, and on our way to the USA run, I'm a prospect, so I'm in the tolls. You're gonna buzz past and then pay the toll for everybody to go through.
Yeah.
Well, a semi tries to cut in between us, and this dude, mind you, he's riding my bike with a gun that I went to prison with in the saddlebag, pulls up to the toll booth on like a Thursday or Friday around rush hour coming out of Chicago and puts a gun to a truck driver's head.
Yeah,
I
you
was
told
like,
me that story.
wow,
You jumped right on the truck and put it right to him.
climbed right up to the truck and he was a truck driver himself. Needless to say, the chemicals got a little to him. He got a little bit too spun, I think, because that same guy one time was a truck driver, and he was coming through my town, and he's like, I need a tarp, and he's screaming at me. I'm not a truck driver, I know. Show up with this blue tarp. He's got a whole load of styrofoam insulation going to like Menards, or Home Depot, and he's got it strapped down with just straps, and it's just peeling off one at a time as he's going down the highway. God. He just got wound up. But what I was going to say is, on our way there, we end up going to the strip club, and he brings this girl he's bringing with him. I was buying or whatever, and she didn't like the cocktail waitress or started a fight, and I'm like, listen, she's here for the ride. She's here with us. Like, we're calling the shots. And this guy decides to like jump on his motorcycle. He fell in love with her. I don't know. And me and another prospect were basically chasing him around the city of either Albany, I think Albany, New York one night, because he wanted to lose us so he could go hang out with this girl. It's the same guy that puts a gun to the head. He ends up coming back and kicked out. But me and the other prospect, we couldn't go back to the hotel without the member. We can't say, hey, we went out to the club. We were just along for the ride, his security, and he's trying to take off on us, and we gotta bring him back. One way or another, we can't come back to the hotel and go, yeah, we're so and so, and go, oh, I don't know. We just left him,
Or he left you, right? So what happened?
We end up getting him back to the hotel, and it gets sorted. I mean, he ended up getting kicked out when we came back, and just a crazy, too much delusional thinking is all I can say, and I've been there. You've probably been there yourself, right, Staxx? I mean,
a little bit.
I mean, let's just face it, like those mix of like that doesn't really make for clear thinking from anybody. Who would have thought we're chasing a guy, our own member, we're chasing him around the freeway like we're trying to chase somebody we're trying to get and couldn't catch him. Him and his girl were fighting, and it's like, wow. But that's one of the things of being a prospect.
What about the women that hang around the club? I'm sure you've seen a lot of wild, crazy women that hang around the club.